Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Mizu here. It's been a while since I last uploaded a video, but don't worry, I have not quit Lost Ark. I've been pretty much just grinding with the plan that I had in the video that I uploaded back in June. And I pretty much achieved my goals of getting 5x3, and I'm pretty much just gearing out the rest of my characters on my account. Today, I wanted to talk about a pretty important issue that has been appearing in my feed, on Reddit, forums, and YouTube. And if you're a player, you can probably pretty much guess what the topic I'm going to talk about. And it's going to be about inflation. I've been thinking about this for a while and I came up with a couple ideas on how I would fix the inflation problem with Lost Ark, and I just wanted to run it by you guys, right? I'm not too sure if my ideas would be the best solution, but I think it would definitely help out the current and new player base. There are two ideas that I had and I'll dive deeper into these 2 points, but the first one is to increase the drop rate of accessories, ability stones, engraving books, whether it may be 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x the drop rate. The second idea was to give out Pheons for logging in, whether it may be 2 or 3 a day. Whether you agree or disagree or have a different idea on how to solve the problem, let me know down in the comments below, but I'm going to dive deeper into these 2 points. Let's talk about increasing the drop rate first of all. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but hear me out. Right now for inflation gold, it's being driven by 2 major pools of gold, right? There's player driven gold, which is abyssal raids, legion raids, weeklies, where people can swipe in order to get gold with royal crystals, and then there's bot gold, which is bot RMT gold. You see tons of bots in the game and it's pretty much been a pain in Lost Ark since day one. Inflation in this game is inevitable in Lost Ark as we continue to get more content, more legion raids that give us more gold. And if you actually plotted this on a graph, it would look like a steady line going up over time as we continue to get updates. However, this is not the case since we have bots injecting more gold into our economy. The line is drastically steeper and moving higher. I'm okay with player driven inflation that's naturally occurring due to the patches. However, I'm not okay with the bot RMT inflation, and it pretty much has done its damage and it continues to do so. Amazon Games and Smilegate have tried to combat the bots and they tried to do ban waves occasionally. However, the bots keep coming back and this is essentially an endless battle and it's pretty much a nightmare. I mean, look at the footage right now. I'm currently dancing in Revelry Roll on my character and look at how many Sork and Berserker bots that just keep funneling in and out. Every time there's a big ban wave, bot developers will try to crack the code and bot again. As long as botting is profitable, they will continue to do it. And how do I know botting exists? Go to any of the starter towns, you'll see a ton of bots there. If you just take a look at the auction house prices for tier 1 and tier 2 gear, and even some of the tier 3 gens, a lot of them are being sold at super high prices. The damage has already been done to the economy, and the people who have RMT have higher purchasing power than the average player that's playing legit. Yes, there's a couple real whales in the game that swipe their way, and that's fine. However, there is a good amount of players that still RMT to this day, and they pretty much have high purchasing power and they can shift auction prices easily in their favor. So this leads me to my first idea, which I thought about. How do you combat this, right? Inflation's rampant, there's tons of bots continue to be in Lost Ark. Well, my first idea is why punish the player? It's not the player's fault that botting is rampant. This is really more on Smilegate and Amazon Games, so don't punish the player. Instead, reward the player, which is to increase the drop rate. If you haven't taken a look already, accessories for what's considered meta, I have quotes, air quotes on this, is that they're really expensive and they're astronomical in price, especially for accessories that have glass engravings. For my Akana alone, for example, it took me 4 weeks before I finally found the accessory that I needed at a reasonable price, not over 80,000 gold. Only a few of these class engraving accessories that I was looking for got posted per week, at least 3 per week, and I had to compete against every single Arcana player and also flippers. There are people on the market that are flipping accessories. So I know Arcana is a new class, but you can just pick and slot another class into the game and you can see that there's not many accessories with class engravings that are being sold cheaply unless you're playing the off meta, and for the most part it pretty much sucks, right? For players that can't be on all the time, this is awful. You're competing against all the players that need it, that are playing the same class as you, and you're competing against flippers, and you're competing against players that have more gold than you. Some might think I'm just complaining and just impatient and I should just save up the gold and buy it. Yes, I'm no stranger to this concept. I've already completed 5x3 on one of my characters. I'm pretty much working on another character to get 5x3, and does this make things any easier? No. and this is coming from a hardcore player. I pretty much had to check auction house 2, 3 times, 4 times every single hour whenever I played, and pretty much eventually after weeks of waiting, I finally found an accessory that I needed. And let me tell you, the accessory that I needed wasn't even a 3x5 accessory, it was a 3x4 accessory. So yes, I cut corners a little bit, but it was a lot cheaper that way, and I was able to get the build that I wanted. And does this make it any better for me? No. Like, it makes it, if it's tough for me, it's going to be tough for the casual and the semi-casual player, right? They don't have time in order to sit on auction house all day in order to try to find a deal. They also have to grind for all that gold as well. So pretty much they're stuck paying the premium of whatever price is listed on the auction house. And I think that's super unfair. Some players will say, hey, they don't put in as much time into the game as we do, so it's definitely unfair. But let me tell you this, if you start to choke out all your casual players and semi-casual players, your game is pretty much ruined. It's already a hard enough time in order to keep up, especially as a hardcore player. If you keep playing every single day, yes, you'll be able to get everything you want. However, if you don't, then yeah, you're going to feel like you're going to be behind. You may say it's part of FOMO, but this game is essentially built on FOMO. I think Amazon Games and Smilegate should really look at the players that don't have a lot of time in order to play the game. I know they're already bleeding a lot of players that are considered hardcore as well. I know many players that are in bigger guilds that have disbanded, a lot of them have taken breaks, and some of them say they'll come back for Kakul Saydon, which is supposedly coming back at the end of the month. But for the most part, a lot of those people will probably just totally quit Lost Ark, you know? A lot of them won't come back, and it's unfortunate because this game is really good. I really want it to succeed. However, the gameplay system is pretty much feast or famine. It could be a lot better, right? The grind is disguised in a certain way where you don't notice it at first, but once you actually start playing, you're gonna start noticing the grind more and more. For a game that advertises that there's so many classes to play, you realistically don't have the option to play many classes besides the 6 that you choose. Otherwise, you're burning through the limited amount of gold that you can earn weekly. There's pretty much no flexibility to try off-meta builds without paying or eating the Pheon and gold costs, unless you're trying to go for a cheaper build just due to the fact that it's cheaper, right? Which is okay too. I would love to try out and test out other builds such as Emperor Arcana or Igniter Sorceress, or let's say First Intention War Dancer, but the price to get there is just way too steep for me to just think about re-rolling. I would love to try out more classes beyond the 6, but the cost of the gear just makes me not want to try. I'm okay with honing being the gatekeeper in this game to access content because they give out enough mats and eventually you'll be able to get there, but don't make build and engravings the problem. Some may say that this is just FOMO, but let's be real. If you wanted to get 5x3 on the top 6 popular classes, let's say if you're playing that on your browser, it would take you a long time to get there. For me, I think if I had to estimate it out, it would take me around 2 months if I purely focus my gold on getting engraving books and accessories for a new character to get 5x3. And this is coming from a hardcore player that pretty much min and maxes a lot of things. If a new class came out and I wanted to try it, most likely I would have to bench one of my 6 characters because otherwise I'm just burning through extra gold. I could definitely do that, but do I want to do that? No, because as a player that doesn't really swipe, it really sets you behind and it really sucks. But you know, think about it. It takes me around 2 months in order to fully deck out a character 5x3 as a hardcore player. For a semi-casual, casual player, it's going to take you way longer because the amount of gold that you need, the amount of accessories that you need will take a while in order for it to drop. And that's if you get lucky on your relic stone as well. But let me summarize the positives first of increasing the drop rate drastically. 1. You'll get more people inclined to try out other builds. 2. More players will be more inclined to try out other classes. 3. You will get rid of flippers, assuming drop rates are high enough where flipping accessories is definitely not worth it. But that's all the positives. What about the downsides of this? Now that the accessories, engravings, and relic stones are cheaper, players have extra gold in their pocket. But where does that gold go to? The price of other goods should go up as well, for example blue crystals and honing materials. More players will want to try out more classes and gear them up, it will drive up blue crystal demand. But on the bright side is that usually blue crystals and honing material prices move up in a steady rate from what I observed. So as long as you keep doing your dailies, guardian raids, chaos dungeons, unbound mats should move with the market. And there's also Mario Secret Shop as well, which helps out, so you can figure out which mats are worth it to buy on Mario Secret Shop versus the auction house. I would also assume that luxury goods such as skins would move up in price as well, which would in turn drive players to buy more skins potentially with real money if it costs too much gold. And I'm going to add this on a side note, it may be off topic, but if Amazon Games and Smilegate actually lower the price of their skins by a bit and produce way more skins, I personally would probably end up buying more skins in return. Since skins are expensive, I am pretty picky about which skins I actually want to spend money on. For games like Fortnite for example, they pump out tons of skins and at cheaper price points, and it's pretty accessible to most people. I would end up buying more skins that way. But let's get back on topic. Overall, I would expect to see blue crystal prices go up, and if blue crystal prices get too high, you may be wondering, how will new and casual players be able to afford their stuff? Which leads me to my second point, which is a way for players to get more Pheons, whether it may be a daily reward given from login events, or if they gave more for the events as well. With the increase in drop rate, you'll need so many more Pheons for your gear, especially if you're planning on playing more classes, and also depending on your luck with your relic stone. It may cost you a few thousand to 100k before you actually get the stone that you need in order to complete your build, but you know, eventually you'll get there. From what I understand, in South America, Pheon and blue crystal prices is pretty crazy, so they pretty much need some help. Based off of what I understand and what I read from Reddit, the game's pricing doesn't reflect what people can actually afford to spend in South America, so these two ideas would actually go hand in hand together to hopefully make it easier for players to not get gatekept from enjoying a build that they want to play on for their class. These two changes may hurt Amazon and Smilegate's profits in the short term, but long term I think this would actually be healthier for the player base and also healthier for the game as well. You want to keep players, because currently I think this game is actually bleeding out a lot of players. I know many of the bigger guilds and endgame players have been taking long breaks. They quit, they don't play as much, because you know, it's actually a time commitment just to keep up in Lost Ark. Some may come back for a clown like they've said, but I think there's a good amount of them that I know are just done with the game. Yes, FOMO is a part of it, and if you have no FOMO, you don't have a problem. However, this game actually tries to create as much FOMO in the game if you actually think about it. By making endgame more accessible for players, players can try to focus on other things, right? They can try to focus on different classes, they can partake in more social aspects of the game, and not feel pressured that they have to continue to grind all the time in order to make ends meet in order to get the characters geared out. I'd rather have the game push more of their monetization strategy on skins and cosmetics more so than trying to push the monetization on honing and gearing out your character. There are many other issues I could address with this game, however the inflation issue is definitely at the top of the list. I know for Smilegate this is not easy to solve, which is the botting situation and the RMT situation, and on top of it, deploying constant patches with our spaghetti code Frankenstein build, it's not easy to properly test and deploy everything, and on top of it, how long it takes corporations to make decisions. However, from a player perspective, it would be nice to hear something that says, hey, we know there's an inflation problem and we're working on a long-term plan to address it and to help out the players. Because overall, I really like this game. I want this game to succeed in the long term and be here for years and years so I can keep playing Lost Ark. However, at the rate that we're going, things aren't looking too good. We're slowly bleeding players, RMT is a rampant problem, and right now, the players are the ones that are suffering, the legit players. The ones that are playing day in and day out, they have to suffer through the inflation rate. This was a pretty long rant. If you stuck around to the end, I really appreciate it. I wanted to spread more awareness because this is a pretty big issue. And without people complaining about it or making rants about it, Amazon Games and Smilegate may be a little bit slow in trying to fix these issues. But whether you agree or disagree with my take or have some other idea, let me know down in the comments below. I would love to see what you guys come up with. But that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time in another video for Lost Ark. Peace.